Just imagine, wouldn't it be nice if in the future, in your career, you could do more of the things that you really love and less of the things that you hate? How to find work that you love. It's not that easy. It's like trying to find the love of your life. It feels so elusive. It can feel like something that's so far out there and you have no clue on how to start and what to do next. It's like looking through a thick fog. But the hope, knowing that there is the possibility that there is work out there that you really love, is so alluring. Imagine that every day you wake up and you feel super excited and energized about starting the day. Or at least you feel 3 times more excited and energized than you are now. Wouldn't that be great? Today in this video, I want to talk about 3 practical and concrete methods that you can use to help you find the kind of work that you love. I personally have used these methods at different points in my life to find out what I really want and clarify what I want to do next. So, are you ready? Do you have your paper and pen, or do you have your notepad on your phone open? Then let's start. Method number 1 is activity sampling. I'm sure you're familiar with the term wine sampling. You test or you sample several different kinds of wines to test them out and see what you like. But here, instead of sampling wines, you sample or test different kinds of activities that you have never done before but that you've always wanted to do. And activities, like the name suggests, are things that you actively do, make, create, or produce. So it's not simply something that you just experience. So going to a movie, watching a movie, going to a new restaurant doesn't count. For example, learn coding for beginners, write a short fictional story, design your own website, plant a garden, or cook a 3-course meal to perfection. So think about all the things that you once thought of doing. At that time, you were perhaps reading an article, watching something on TV, on the news, or even on YouTube, and you thought to yourself, that looks really fun. That looks like something that I would really enjoy doing. But then before you actually went ahead and did it, you gave yourself a million reasons why it wasn't a good idea. And eventually you never tried and forgot all about it. The very important thing here is to scope the activities, or to pick the extent of the activities in a way that they are very low investment, which means that it costs you very little or close to nothing. And also that they are low time investment, which means that it takes relatively short time to complete this activity. And low time investment is of course relative. If you are someone who is writing a short story for your first time, it could take you 1 month or even 2 months or even more. But compared to going back to school and getting a whole literature degree or a degree in screenwriting, 1 or 2 months is relatively low investment. And also the benefit of doing these activities that are really low in cost and take very little time is that it lowers your resistance to actually trying it out, because you have no excuse at all now. So what you need to do now is to list down at least 20 activities that you would like to sample. So why 20 activities and not just 3? By listing down a lot of things, you will force yourself to get everything out in the open. If you immediately pinpoint just 3 activities from the start, you might risk censoring yourself or missing out things that you actually really want to do, but just still have some doubts or concerns about. So feel free, go ahead and hit the pause button now and write down your 20 activities. So now that you've got your 20 activities, what's next? I would recommend you to go through all of these methods first before at the very end you try and drill down your list of 20 to become 3 to 5 activities that you actually want to implement. So let's move on. For the next method, you need to take a quick journey to the past. Method number 2 is things you loved to do when you were a child. You know those stories about people who as a kid wanted to become a doctor, an astronaut, Superman maybe. So that's not what I'm talking about here. Children can have all sorts of imaginations about what they want to become once they're grown up, and it doesn't have to mean anything. In fact, it can even be misleading if the reason that they think that they want to become something specific is only because they saw someone who they really admired doing it, or because the specific environment that they lived in encouraged encourage them to want certain kind of things or want to work in certain kind of professions. But what's useful here is to retrace what you as a child loved to do and what you actually did a lot on a weekly or even daily basis. Try and think back to your different stages of childhood as far as your memory goes. For example, what did you love to do when you were 5 years old, apart from throwing tantrums and fighting with your siblings like I did? What were your favorite games when you were 8 or 9? And what was the thing that you could do for hours and hours when you were 11? The thing that when you got interrupted while doing could make you mad or cry. For me, it has always been creative work. Playing make-believe, imagining things, and making these things with whatever I had at hand, like these YouTube videos that I'm making now. I grew up playing with one of these super old Macintosh computers. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. And it had one of these design applications that nowadays would maybe be something like Canva or PicMonkey, where you could do some simple designing and editing. And I could spend hours and hours and hours playing around with it. And I also remember that I loved singing songs and recording my voice on this Sony recorder that I got for my 5th birthday. And somehow I see all of these different activities, all the things that I really loved doing when I was a child, now coming together in this weird kind of combination in the work that I do nowadays. But back to you. It might take a while to remember all of the different things that you love doing as a child. And it might even help to chat with your parents or with your siblings or aunts and uncles to ask them the question, what was it that I loved to do when I was a child? And then you might have this big aha moment where you realize, right, that's exactly what I love to do. How come that I never thought of that? That's exactly what I want to be doing in my adult life as well. For example, if as a child you loved building your own little houses using cardboard or pieces of furniture, then you might want to become a house builder in the real world. Before I go on to the next method, if you found this video useful so far, then please give it a thumbs up. Some of my viewers said that they really liked my channel, but they only found it by coincidence because it popped up in their recommendations, or in other words, the YouTube algorithm. With the number of great content that's out there on YouTube nowadays, it can get really hard for a small channel like mine and my videos to get pushed to the surface. So any kind of activity on this channel, likes, comments, subscriptions, shares, can really help out this channel because it will help my videos to get suggested to more people. If you are someone who wants to change your career and develop it into the kind of career that you absolutely love, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Also make sure that your notifications are set to all notifications so that you'll get notified every time there's a new video from me. So let's move on. The next method number 3, is the method that has given me the greatest insight when it came to my own career. Method number 3 is favorite parts of your job. And no, here I'm not referring to those awesome colleagues that you have at work or the pantry that has that WMF coffee machine. Yes, I enjoyed one of those at one of the offices that I worked for once, and they are totally amazing because you can make these great cappuccinos and so on. But here what I mean is the specific type of activities and the specific type of work that you love to do in your current job as well as in any of your past jobs. And let me dissect this for you by sharing with you a concrete example of one of the jobs that I had and the specific parts of work and activities that I really loved. So let me tell you about one of my old jobs in banking where I was VP in international projects. And I know for those of you who have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I hated my job in banking. And it's true, I did hate my job at some point, but I didn't hate everything. There were parts of my job that I hated, like the working hours, the environment, and the system, and so on. By the way, in case you want to know more about this, there's a video that I made earlier on reasons why banking wasn't the right career for me, which I'll link up here. But the bright side is that there were actually aspects of my job. There were activities and certain parts of my work that I actually loved. And how I figured this out was that actually years and years after I left my job in banking, I actually sat down and tried to answer to myself the question, what were the exact things of my work that I liked and which were the things that I didn't like? And that's how I found out. And for me, it was planning. I loved planning. I loved making spreadsheets, planning out timelines, budgeting, setting goals, and so on. And also conceptualizing. I loved coming up with new concepts. For example, there was one project I worked on where I created this incentive system for sales and service staff. I love to create new models and figuring out a system how to do things better. And I also love training and coaching people. And at some point in the bank, I got the opportunity to train over 100 people on a new system that we implemented in the bank. I loved sharing knowledge and I love to help people understand things better. But sadly, or rather fortunately, that was only part of the job. Anyway, back to you. So think about the job that you have right now as well as all the jobs that you had in the past. And the best way to do this is take that piece of paper or your notepad and write down all the different positions, the different job roles that you had throughout your life. And for each of these jobs, try and list down the different activities and the different aspects of work that are involved. And the next step would be if you could cherry pick from all of these different jobs and roles that you have, those parts of work that you love the most, what would they be? What would the, let's say, top 3 to 5 activities and parts of work be? Unless you absolutely hated all of the jobs and all of the roles that you ever had in your entire life, there must be some things that you actually love doing. And just imagine, wouldn't it be nice if in the future, in your career, you could do more of the things that you really love and less of the things that you hate? And to warm you up and give you some examples, here is a non-exhaustive list of all the different kind of things that people do in their job that you might like or not like. Writing, designing, programming, talking, consulting, researching, analyzing, discussing, negotiating, organizing, planning, selling, coaching, and training. It's really important to know which one of these it is exactly that you enjoy the most. And it doesn't have to be just one thing. In fact, for most people, there are several things or a combination of things that they actually love to do the most. The thing is that in almost every industry, there will be a range of different jobs and careers which will consist of a different combination of all these elements. And these things that I just listed are much, much more important than your position or your title, because these things are those things that you are actually doing on a day-to-day basis and that will fill up most of your time and take up most of your energy. These are the type of things that will ultimately make you happy and fulfilled, or on the other hand, completely stressed out. So list down all the jobs that you had throughout your entire career, and below each role, list down what the specific activities, the specific work was that you did in that role. And then circle those things in each job role that you feel that you love the most. And then you will kind of come up with this sort of personal map of the kind of work that you love, and you will start seeing a pattern there. And each time before you make that circle around that specific work or activity, ask yourself, is this an activity that I could do for hours, for days and months, and that doesn't easily drain me, but on the contrary makes me feel energized and excited? If yes, then go ahead and put a circle around it. So now what? After you've gone through these 3 methods, hopefully you've got a long list of all these different things that you love doing. Now look at these different lists and try and see where they overlap, and try to identify a connection. If you follow this method, if you take it seriously, if you try to attack this question of how to find work you love from different angles, I am sure that you will be much, much closer to finding out what kind of work it actually is that you love and that you want to do for, if not the rest of your life, maybe for the next 5 years or 10 years. If you've tried this method but you still feel that you need more ideas to find work that you love, then you might want to check out this video up here that I made earlier. And also, don't panic and don't worry if you haven't figured it out yet. This thing, finding out what it actually is that you really love doing and what you want to do as a career, takes time and you have to be patient. But you will get there eventually if you keep searching and, most importantly, asking yourself the right kind of questions. If you've enjoyed my content, you can support this channel by hitting the like button, commenting, or buying me a coffee through the link in the descriptions below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. You only live once, so if you can change your career and change your life for the better, then why not?